Natsuki Subaru dies in a previous timeline, then restarts from a safer save point on the leafless highway right after the group defeats the white whale, which means that win still counts in the new loop. He wakes surrounded by allies from the expedition force: Felix Argyle, called Ferris, Julius Juculius, Wilhelm Banastrea, Ricardo, and others, who are already preparing to ride fast to the Mathers domain to protect Emilia's mansion and evacuate Earlham village before the witch cult can attack. Subaru quickly explains what he learned in the last loop about the Sin Archbishop of Sloth, Betelgeuse Romanicanti. Betelgeuse can perform possession, which lets him overwrite another person's mind and control their body, so he can survive setbacks and appear in different places by moving between hosts. Julius links this idea to a lost magic theory like soul transference, saying even if that exact ritual is gone, the same limits probably apply, such as needing very specific compatibility, while Ferris adds that overriding a person's gait and soul is extremely hard unless the target is already suitable, which suggests Betelgeuse mainly possesses prepared cultists known as fingers. From this, they form a clear plan: hunt down and eliminate every finger, so Betelgeuse has no spare bodies to jump into, forcing him to face them directly without any escape through possession. Subaru also warns that Betelgeuse wields unseen hands, invisible black arms that attack and grab, and that Subaru alone can see them, which makes Subaru necessary on the front line, but also puts him in danger being possessed if he gets too close. To manage risks while moving quickly, Julius proposes using Nect, a spirit technique to link minds so the team can coordinate telepathically while riding. Although the mental noise initially overwhelms Subaru until Julius adjusts the signal to make it tolerable. They discuss ways to reveal the unseen hands, including Wilhelm's bold idea to throw dust and dirt in battle so the hands become visible. But most of the group cannot reliably do that mid-fight, so they decide to rely on Subaru's line-of-sight calls and Julius's precise spirit-aided swordsmanship, supported by disciplined positioning. Subaru brings up new complications he learned from the last loop. A letter of goodwill apparently sent from Crush Karsten arrived to the mansion totally blank, which created distrust, and the traveling merchants network could be infiltrated by witch cultists, so basic communications and trust lines might be compromised. Because time is short and villagers are in danger, the group decides to ride fast, force early evacuation to disrupt the cult's timing, and flush out the cult's communication relays, while Subaru steels himself by holding a reminder of past pain that keeps his resolve strong. As the expedition force departs, Subaru asks Julius to attach a small quasi-spirit named Ye as a provisional pact on him, because he remembers an important behavior from the last loop. If a stronger pact tries to take Subaru over, Io would be forced out, which could act as a warning at the exact moment possession attempts to overwrite Subaru. Julius confirms that if a formal pact intrudes, the provisional pact would indeed be displaced, so both agree to keep Yo on Subaru and watch for any sudden break as a sign that Betelgeuse is trying to seize his body. During the ride, Julius activates Nect to link minds through the Force so they can plan in motion, although Subaru again reels from the doubled senses and noise before Julius tunes it down, and then they settle on the operational sequence: locate fingers, destroy them, control communications, and block Betelgeuse's possession routes. Subaru cracks a strained joke about the plan ending in an easy win if they can just get to the final part. But underneath the humor, he is nervous and determined because he wants to protect Emilia and everyone else without failing again. At Roswaal's mansion, Emilia wakes with a headache after several stressful days, burdened by village prejudice, political strain from the royal selection, and her painful argument with Subaru at the palace, with only Puck and Ram keeping things together while Roswaal is away. Ram reports sensing a disturbing presence in the forest that even her clairvoyance cannot clarify, and Emilia decides they must evacuate villagers to the mansion for safety. But the village representative rejects her offer due to fear and prejudice about Emilia being a silver-haired half-elf. That refusal hurts Emilia more than she expects, because she had hoped the royal selection and her efforts would change how people saw her. But she knows she concealed her identity with magic before, and trust cannot grow well on concealed ground. Then a messenger brings a letter with crushed Karsten's seal that turns out blank, which looks like an insult or a harsh message, and it deepens Emilia's worry and self-doubt, even though it does not fit with Krush's character. Wilhelm arrives at the mansion dirty from travel as Krush's representative, and says Krush did not send a blank letter implying the original message was switched or tampered with, which calms the insult fear and points to interference. Wilhelm then explains a wider plan. There is a temporary alliance with Roswaal that trades Great Elier Forest magic crystal rights to Krush's faction, which is why her camp will help evacuate and shelter people, and he proposes immediate evacuation under a cover story about a bandit king to avoid panic about the witch cult. Emilia offers to fight, confident in Puck's strength, but Wilhelm relays Roswaal's strict instruction that Emilia must go to the capital quickly to formalize the alliance, leaving combat to the expedition force, and Ram reluctantly confirms Roswaal's demand. Beatrice refuses to evacuate, saying she will seal the Forbidden Library with passage and remain inside under her pact, while Puck warns that although Beatrice is gentle, she will give no mercy to intruders, so the mansion itself should not be touched. A white-robed youth bursts in to report movements in the forest growing urgent, and Wilhelm presses Emilia to approve evacuation immediately, because events are already in motion and delay could put everyone at risk. Emilia feels managed by plans she did not create, but accepts responsibility as the acting decision-maker, since Roswaal is absent, and orders the split. Half of the villagers go to the royal capital under Krush's protection. The other half go to the sanctuary where Roswaal is headed. Emilia walks forward, despite fear because duty comes first, and she decides to trust Wilhelm's words about Krush and accept the alliance route that Roswaal prepared, even though it makes her feel powerless in the moment. She thinks briefly of Beatrice again, but Puck explains Beatrice is safer inside the archive under her pact, and Emilia realizes she must move on with the larger evacuation before the forest threat turns into a disaster. When Emilia reaches Earlham village, evacuation is already underway with surprising order, and villagers are cooperating with the expedition force, as if trust has been quickly established through decisive action and clear direction. Emilia is told she will ride with 6 children in a dragon carriage, including Petra, and she worries that families will be uncomfortable with their children riding in a confined space with her because of prejudice. A white-robed youth bluntly asks Petra if she dislikes riding with Emilia, which Emilia expects to hurt because she assumes the answer is no. But Petra takes Emilia's hand and says she is not afraid, remembering Emilia's visits and how Subaru was happy talking with her. Petra's warm response melts Emilia's fear in that moment, showing her that genuine kindness can cut through prejudice, especially when a child sees the person behind the rumors. The other children chime in that they also want to ride with Emilia, and Ram quickly organizes the boarding, while Petra, still holding Emilia's hand, leads her with a smile that feels like a new beginning for trust. Emilia turns to thank the white-robed youth who made the moment possible, but he has already slipped away, leaving Emilia puzzled and slightly amused at the timing. Meanwhile, in the forest, a witch cult finger named Ketty hides with comrades and activates a media, a talking mirror used to communicate over distance, to report that evacuees are moving earlier than planned. The ally beside him speaks strangely about scent and identity, pulls back his hood, and reveals himself as Subaru with 3 white eyes, breaking a perception trick and exposing the cult's relay while mocking Katie's interference with his reunion with Emilia. Before Katie can react, Wilhelm cuts down 2 cultists in a blink. Julius places his blade at Katie's neck, and Ferris stands ready, all synchronized with Subaru's bait plan to force immediate contact and then pounce on the relay. Subaru thanks the team and points out that starting the evacuation early created pressure that made the cult reach out, so the force could trace and capture a finger and then move to disrupt all communications and vessels for possession. Capturing Ketty confirms how the cult coordinates through media, and how fingers serve as trusted vessels linked to Betelgeuse, which helps the expedition force refine the plan, keep momentum, intercept messages, and reduce possession targets. With villagers rolling out and Emilia guarded, they can systematically isolate and eliminate vessels, closing the circle around Betelgeuse until he must face them directly with no body to jump into. Using Nect, Julius links minds across the team as they split to hunt down every finger, because removing all spare bodies means Betelgeuse cannot possess anyone, which forces a final fight on the group's terms. Subaru repeats the operational rhythm. He calls out the invisible, unseen hands he can see. Julius cuts them with his spirit-empowered rainbow blade. Ferris handles healing and support. Ricardo and Wilhelm pressure enemies and intercept ambushes, and everyone follows careful positioning. Wilhelm's dust screen trick to reveal unseen hands is recognized as effective, but too hard for most fighters to perform during live combat, so the team relies mainly on Subaru's vision and Julius's precision, plus practice in moving as one while under mental link. The possession risk on Subaru is handled by keeping Julius's quasi-spirit EIA attached as a provisional pact, because if a stronger formal pact intrudes, Aya would be displaced and warn them, which could save Subaru at the critical moment. The hunts proceed. Small cult groups are found and defeated, messengers are cut off, and the force heads off threats before they can converge, gradually turning the forest into a trap instead of a hiding place for the cult. Subaru stays focused and reminds the team of the rule. No matter how chaotic it gets, keep removing fingers, because each destruction reduces Betelgeuse's extra lives and limits his possession options until there are none left. As the convoy moves, the group discovers a hidden bomb plan. Inside a carriage, there is a demon beast hide sack packed with magic crystals meant to trigger a massive explosion that will incinerate travelers, showing the cult plan to slaughter evacuees if their leader fell. Puck could reveal overwhelming power and stop the blast by force, but Subaru refuses to rely on that display because it would frighten villagers and reinforce fears about Emilia's link to terrifying power, undoing the fragile trust just earned. Subaru grabs the burning hot sack, hurting himself in the process, sprints to Patlish, his land dragon, and races across the plain toward the frozen corpse of the white whale, trusting its massive cold body to absorb the blast safely away from people. Patlish senses Subaru's intent and runs at full speed, and Subaru plans to stuff the bomb into the whale's fatal wound so that the explosion will be contained by the ice and massive body, protecting the convoy and not forcing a panic-inducing reveal from Puck. As Subaru departs with the bomb, Emilia catches his sleeve and asks why, meaning all the whys since their fight at the palace and now. And Subaru gives the simple truth that carries everything. He loves Emilia and wants to protect everyone alongside her, then rides off to carry the danger away. The plan is desperate but clear, and it fits the broader approach of preventing mass fear, while stopping the cult's last-ditch plan to cause a massacre among innocents who are finally starting to trust. At a cliffside battlefield, Betelgeuse attacks with unseen hands in a raging torrent, but Julius wields a rainbow-lit sword infused with 6 elements from quasi-spirits, which can cut those invisible arms into dispersing mist. Through Nect, Julius and Subaru fully synchronize the senses, so Julius can see the unseen hands through Subaru's vision, and to reduce confusion from doubled sight, Julius even closes his own eyes and fights guided only by what Subaru sees. The doubled sensations are painful and dizzying for Subaru. He feels Julius's battle pain, movements, and even taste and sound, but he endures because their strategy depends on Subaru's eyes and Julius's blade working as one. They keep cutting away waves of unseen hands, and Betelgeuse rants about devotion to the witch he adores, while the team keeps discipline so the Archbishop cannot slip away into another body. When Subaru feels possession pressure bearing down, he gambles on his trump card. He tries to speak about return by death, which triggers the witch's crushing taboo penalty that tortures his soul. Because Betelgeuse is occupying Subaru in that instant, the same shattering shock slams into Betelgeuse, forcing him to eject from Subaru. Betelgeuse snaps back to his failing vessel, where Julius strikes again with the rainbow blade and sears away the core, anchoring the Archbishop, burning through the accumulated mana and leaving the unseen hands powerless. Betelgeuse crawls and raves to his absent witch, calling atrocities love. But Subaru replies that Betelgeuse never offered himself. He offered other people's lives in pain and called it devotion, which was not love at all. With his last invisible arm grasping nothing, Petal Goose collapses, and the team keeps watch a moment longer for any hidden finger. But their earlier hunts have already cut off his escapes, so Sloth is truly ended. Meanwhile, Subaru races Patlish to the whale's corpse, stuffs the demon beast's sack of crystals into the fatal wound, and dives for cover beneath the fallen great tree as the explosion erupts, with heat and shock waves roaring across the prairie. But the massive body and ice absorb the worst of it. He and Patlash are battered and scorched but survive. And as the ringing in Subaru's ears fades, he feels Patlash lick his face and lets his exhausted mind fall into sleep, having prevented a mass tragedy without frightening people with an overwhelming spirit reveal. In the quiet after battle, Subaru goes to Emilia, and they finally speak honestly without masks or distance. Emilia shares her fears about being a half-elf and being hated, and Subaru answers that he can name more things he loves about her than she can name that she hates about herself. He asks her to take her time and fall in love slowly while he walks beside her, trying to make her feel safe and special, and she smiles through tears, accepting a gentle promise instead of a rush that would scare them both. With the Archbishop of Sloth defeated and the bomb plan neutralized, the evacuation proceeds as planned. One group goes to the royal capital under Crush Karsten's protection to formalize the alliance with Roswaal, while another group goes to the sanctuary where Roswaal is waiting. Beatrice remains inside the sealed, forbidden library under her pact. Puck watches gently over Emilia, and Ram shepherds her group with calm strength, keeping people steady during a tense journey. The confusion of the blank letter is resolved in spirit by Wilhelm's assurance that Crush never intended an insult, meaning someone interfered with the message, and Emilia accepts the alliance path while setting aside the self-doubt the blank page stirred up. The strange presence in the forest turns out to be the witch cult, and by moving early and coordinating across teams, the expedition force prevents a massacre by isolating the fingers, disrupting the media network, and shutting down possession. On the road and in the quiet moments after, Subaru and Emilia keep their talks simple and clean. He tells her clearly that he loves her, and she lets herself believe that someone can see her as a normal girl and not a symbol of fear, choosing to walk forward step by step with him. Petra playfully clings to Subaru's arm and teases Emilia like a friendly rival, and for once Subaru enjoys a smooth ride thanks to a blessing against motion sickness, letting everyone breathe after chaos. In a reflective interlude, Subaru sits beside the sleeping Rem and remembers how, in panic, he tried to kill himself to push the save point back before her attack, only to discover the restart had already moved forward and would not return to a time when he could still save her. Realizing that dying again will not help Rem, he chooses the harder path. Protect everyone in this timeline, keep Rem's place in his heart, and look for a real solution in the future, rather than throwing away what was finally won. The volume closes on a modest but powerful note. After despair and many loops of failure, a single timeline reaches a gentle evening where two insecure people, Subaru and Emilia, agree to stand side by side and build something kind and honest. It calls itself a tale about that, and nothing more, because the earned quiet between them is the treasure at the end of great pain, and it is enough for now.